right. So, welcome everyone to another episode of the Giant Leap podcast. Today I'm joined by Louthing from MatchboxDAO. So, welcome, mate. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Firstly,
Pleasure to be here.
very important question. How you doing? What did you have for lunch? Or have you had lunch yet?
Yeah, I did. I actually just before the call. Yeah, just pasta with like a tuna. Nothing very exciting, to be
Very
honest.
good, very good. That sounds pretty good to me. You know, my partner's been
Yeah, also
overseas for
though.
a little while, so I'm raiding the fridge for scraps at the moment. Um, it's really good to chat. Obviously, we've been sort of keeping eye out for all the different things happening in on-chain gaming, and Matchbox DAO is one of the earliest, I think, doing stuff in on-chain gaming in particular. So today, I'd love to find out more about your background, what you guys are doing at Matchbox DAO. Some of the sort of interesting things you're seeing and opportunities. So I think we can sort of dive right into it. But love to find out a bit more about your background, Luthing. Let's start with how did you get into Web3 in the first instance?
Okay, great point. Yeah, I try to make it short as short as possible. Okay, I've been in crypto for the past, I would say, 6 to 7 years, around the time. Around 2017, I would say, 2016, 2017, more 2017 actually. I mean, very classic. I mean, I was holding some Bitcoin, some ETH, playing around with some altcoin, nothing very original. I got pretty much at the same time as my brother, who was already very into cryptography. Myself, again, was super classic onboarding. Then I was super, I mean, started to deep dive within the French community, being very active there. Then I ended up being one of the administrator of the largest crypto community in France over the time. And then along the way, I then joined one of the largest crypto VC in Europe, the investment team of one of the largest crypto VC in Europe, one we have backed. I mean, like since it's a VC like since 2018 and backed very early stage projects such as, I don't know, like 1inch, Celo, Near, Dapple Labs, Flow, Arweave, YGG also on the gaming side, and a bunch of others, not to mention all of them. Yeah, so that's what my along the way. I mean, I've been, again, my brother being very into cryptography, I was super into ZK related topics for a while. And my brother ended up being like in 2018 head of ecosystem at Starkware. So again, super into it, super like I had to step in, and then launched Matchbox. Like we are 1 year old. We were launched. We started like last year, March last year, 2022, and yeah. So and we are building the infrastructure of games that are fully on chain. We also happen to be the largest community of developers on Starknet, even if we are not Starknet. I mean, we are chain agnostic, but we happen to be mostly on Starknet at the moment. In terms of like infrastructure in games that we incubate, that we power, we fuel. So basically, yeah, we are building the infrastructure of games that are fully on chain. A simple way I like to describe this kind of game is, I mean, when you take games like, I don't know, Steppen, Axie, for the famous ones, it's games that are mainly off-chain. Like I would say maybe 90% off-chain with maybe like a 10% on-chain components. And when I say 10%, I'm being very generous.
Mm.
Usually it's the NFT, the rewards that may be on-chain, but basically the all of the rest is off-chain. Again, that is fully on-chain. On the contrary, is every component of the game is on chain. So from the gameplay, including the, I don't know, the AMMs, if there's a music, if there's a marketplace in the game, also including some music tooling, if some kind of music plays around in the game when you reach a land or whatever, everything is on chain, which allows a lot of things. It allows any developers to be able to pick a brick in any games and just plug it into his own game. So basically, being able to build a game in a fraction of the time he would have needed if he had to do it by himself. Also, since everything is on chain, everything is composable. You will always have access to this best brick because everything will be open source, and the bricks will always remain like will always get improved by the set of developers working towards the same the same bricks. So that's the point. So you always have access to top bricks, and yes, basically like Legos, you'll be able to build games super fast with very high quality bricks. Basically the same way as DeFi became super big because of full composability. I mean, it is the same with the difference that in DeFi, whenever you have done some lending, some borrowing, some options, some derivatives, you have basically, I mean, you are basically done. You are basically limited, which is not the case in gaming. So yeah, so that's the entire idea around like our vision and how we see why we see on-chain games being super valuable. Yeah, maybe you can. I think that's a good intro, and about myself also about my background because I think like I talk a little more about like the vision and just my background. Yeah, that's basically it. Also linked the stacking community in France, organizing events there, and just coordinating somehow the efforts there. But again, we're not with Matchbox. We're not fully focused on Starknet. Obviously not.
Awesome. No, thanks for that intro. That's a lot of great information there, and I'd love to peel that back a bit and sort of unpack bits and pieces. I'm curious, how did you, obviously your brother peeled you into crypto because he was like a crypto guy, I guess, and then you started to get involved in the community. How did you make the jump from, let's say, your average crypto enjoyer to getting involved on the VC side? Did you have a VC background, or is that something you kind of picked up along the way?
I mean, you mean like first when I got into crypto, did I jump into VC?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, to me, it was. I mean, there is no. I didn't really have like. I have a finance background. I didn't have a VC background.
Mm.
I would say it was like the natural step. I mean, I was playing around. I was with some altcoins. We're like discussing like so much in groups, etc. I was also like doing due diligence for personal investing. So somehow it was like a natural path. Like I mean, time it was not crypto was not such a thing. I mean, it was not super professionalized. You had only a few protocols. So yeah, it was the perfect way to combine crypto and like finance and what I was like doing for like as an hobby,
Mm.
as a hobby for myself. So yeah, so it was to me just not natural path. I had the opportunity to work there, but yeah, there is no. I didn't have any all the background that just being super curious into crypto and just as a natural way. I mean, a natural uh, like a next step, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that kind of is a similar journey. I mean, for a lot of us in the space, right? Like I spent 4 years in DeFi before building things in on-chain gaming. So, and we just kind of figured out a lot of the stuff on the way, and seeing what was cool, forking different projects, putting different things on there, and seeing what kind of worked. So I guess it's a similar path that a lot of us
Yeah,
take.
yeah, I guess we are all like Dejin somehow from the very beginning. I mean, obviously, it's a way to go at least. It was the way to go at least.
Exactly, and
You
and I
know.
and I just noticed actually both of us logged in with our caps on backwards. That must be another Web3 thing, right?
Actually, that's the Web3 cap by the way. Okay, some merch I got. Anyway,
Awesome. So you're in DeFi, you're doing some VC stuff. When did you start looking at on-chain gaming? And what kind of made you look into that space?
on-chain gaming. Good point actually. Well, I was very, I mean, into crypto in general, so DeFi. Obviously, I would take looks to gaming, gaming projects in Web3. Um, but I would say the main thing was I was super into ZK, VKP. I mean, yeah, zero knowledge stuff, Stockware in particular, and I've just felt, yeah, like since you could put everything on chain. I mean, yeah, like I would say Dark Forest was the first step. Like the Dark Forest was the first obvious use case, like the first obvious game that was to me super like revealing somehow. And I just felt, yeah, like Starknet. I mean, I'm super passionate. I mean, super passionate about ZKP. I feel, uh, I mean, their knowledge is a perfect technology to build games, like to build everything on chain. I was also very, I mean, I was not the biggest gamer. I mean, I was a gamer, but back in time, I was not the biggest one. But I always loved to play games. Yeah, I would say Dark Forest was the turning point, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and just naturally mixing this all. Okay, I like this, and yeah, I just felt gaming would be the perfect fit for. I mean, VKP would be the perfect fit for gaming applications. And also, yeah, also it was also at the time of Steppen starting to crash, and I mean, I was already interested before, but you could see before that the mechanics of regular games, Web3 games, were not sustainable, and it was just some kind of, as I said before, it was not really Web3 games. Yeah, and just being thinking of where we could bring the same way that what DeFi brings to that what could be brought to DeFi bring the same to gaming was like the way to go. And again, the turning point was because of Dark Forest.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's with the various chats I've had, I think Dark Forest is the genesis for a lot of us in terms of seeing what was actually possible in terms of a fully on-chain game. I do want to talk about the financialization aspect of on-chain games and Web3 games a bit later. So I'll sort of dive into that because you mentioned Step In and all of those axes and those play to earn sort of models, but I'll dive into that a little bit later. Going back to uh, Dark Forest, I remember, yeah, and playing it, and it was like an aha moment, like the first time I used Compound, and was like, okay, DeFi is gonna be a thing. Like these are like the two distinct memories I have in probably all of Web3. It's like that first time I used Compound, and I was like, okay, DeFi is a thing. And then the first time I played Dark Forest, and I was like, okay, fully on-chain gaming is the thing. So we looked at Dark Forest, and very quickly we were just sort of thinking about how we could potentially extend the game or modify it and do all these other kinds of things. And then we came across what the Lattice mud guys were doing in terms of like making game creation, a bit more accessible. And that's the architecture that we're using. But I think this is a good way to sort of talk about how did you get more involved in, I guess, the Starkware ecosystem in particular. Obviously, we lots of great projects on Starknet. We spoke to Loaf a little while ago. He's up in Sydney as well. So lots of other great projects building on Starkware. How did you first come across it? I think you mentioned back in 2018, you guys were already sort of looking at the Starkware stuff. How did you first get involved?
How did I get involved in Starkware and ZK stuff? Uh, I mean, I was involved because of my brother. Like, my brother was super into cryptography. He was organizing meetups all around the world back in times with like there was not much. I mean, the cash, those things. Then he started to work at Starkware in 2018. So that's how I got very into it for a long time. Yeah, so because of my brother, I would say.
Right, right. So I guess that's then the natural place for you guys to start doing stuff on Matchbox DAOs. Was that the reason?
I mean, again, like we don't operate fully on Starknet. Like we, okay, can you, sorry, can you again repeat the question?
Yeah, no, I was just curious as to like, Matchbox DAO, even though you're saying you're obviously a bit more agnostic in terms of the approach, but there are obviously a lot of Starknet developers on Matchbox
Mm.
DAO. Yes. How did you guys sort of come to the conclusion that that would be a good ecosystem to build in?
I would say that's a good point actually. Did we got into it? I mean, I was naturally into Starkware, I would say first,
Mm,
and Yoni. I would say a lot of project. I mean, the technology, the competition power offered by Starknet that was great for this kind of project. So naturally, I would say I wouldn't say we really chose it. I think somehow project like gaming projects were built on Starknet. So we happened to be where the projects were.
mm,
And I would say, yeah, most of the projects, I mean, back in the time, like last year, you couldn't build anything else. I mean, you had Arbitrum, those things, but those those L2s are still expensive. You have competition limitation. You cannot deploy too many smart contracts on chain. I mean, Stacknet was basically the best somehow technically ecosystem to do it, and also just games were built on top of it.
Right.
So I mean on it. So that's why, and we didn't really choose, I guess. Like I just guessed people were already building on Stocknet.
Yeah, yeah. So you just basically went where the game builders were at the time and rallied a community around them.
Well, I mean, we define ourselves as a community, so we don't really care where people come from, but it happens that people come from the same place. So that's why we are super Starknet, but we didn't really choose to be.
Mm,
So, I mean, we had an appetence to be somehow because we are tied to it, but it was more because the project we built on Starknet that we are identified as a Starknet project.
sure, sure. That makes sense. And in terms of Matchbox DAO, you mentioned it's a community. Um, what what exactly, let's say, is your sort of main day to day or operation, right? Like is it a place for new projects to try and go and get started building on-chain games, or is it, tell me more about what Matchbox does on a sort of day to day.
That's a great point. That's a great. We do a lot of things. So yeah, we are a community. We are a place where where we help builders, where we gather builder and where we help them to build. We incubate a lot of teams, a lot of projects to build on-chain games. Um, we also help them develop through those grants and through those ecosystem that we implement, this infrastructure that we implement, where they can get connected to any other developers. It's basically this community. We also organize a lot of hackathon. We are to whether have people to build new games or to have people build on top of existing games. So to again like engage the community to build and to increase the firepower around launching games. And we also now develop some kind of in the same vision. We develop now a new not product but a new way to engage more entrants, more people. Is we organize competitions, some kind of esports around launching games. So basically, we just to give you an example, we launched in late January the first like Web3 World Cup, gathering the best Web3 companies, the best developers from the best Web3 companies to compete around a launching game, which was based on OX Monaco. I'm sure you have heard of it,
Hmm.
the famous feature from Paradigm. So we made it, we turned it into a competitions with like a front end with basically the game just for the people that who don't know what OX is. It's a basic racing game where you carry the smart contracts and you need to code the best strategy to win the game, to win the race. And yeah, we organized some kind of a competition around this game with the best website companies. We brought developers from Uniswap, from Ledger, from Polygon, from OKX, YGG, Near Protocol, and a bunch of others, not to mention all of them. And it's also a great way to bring more and more people awareness around people to watch those kind of games, to create a new category of esports around launching games, and a great way to also bring new developers to build games. So yeah, we are trying to build infrastructure of fully on-chain games through different ways, through financing projects, through organizing hackathon with incentives to build on top of new project or on top of existing projects. And we also now develop this esports layer where we can engage more and more developers to compete against other developers through on-chain games, and also the public to have fun watching those kind of games because it's also super fun to watch. Yeah, so it's we somehow we try by the esports layer to to popularize the I mean to popularize on-chain games in general. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So it sounds like there's definitely quite a few things you do. There's like stuff that gaming DAOs would do that you guys do, right? In terms of getting that sort of visibility for the games and competitions. And then there's that support and ecosystem. So, if for example, would we be allowed to do some stuff with you guys, even though we're building on, let's say, an EVM L2, or using mud?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned Mud. I forgot to rebalance this. Mud is an amazing infra, honestly, amazing project from Lattice. I mean, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, even the esports layer that we built is not. I didn't mention it, but it's not Cairo. It's a AVM. It's a Solidity coding competition. So yeah, you just need to know some basic Solidity to be able to play the game. So yeah, obviously not. We are not. We are not. We are open to any to any chain, any ecosystem. Obviously EVMs, and we're also talking to a lot of Zk EVMs projects, VK Sync, Scroll, and I mean all the others. Yeah. So obviously, yeah, no, we're not limited to Starknet and open to any EVM as well.
Fantastic. So I'll definitely follow up with this for our playtests, I think, in the future, because it'd be very
And
cool to
and
do
we
stuff.
also find and we also like we also incubate a lot of non Starknet projects from like multiple like whatever EVM chain
Okay.
or not EVM, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, open to anything. We have a lot of example of those, even like yeah, a lot of example of games that we have incubated that are not Starknet. So yeah, obviously open to anything.
Very cool. I want to talk about a bit about the financialization of games and how we might potentially strike a balance, right? Because I think on the one hand, one of the main value props of on-chain gaming and anything related to crypto is that native finance layer. But at the same time, it
Mm.
makes it potentially difficult
So
or
you break out
am I breaking up?
breaks out a lot,
Uh,
a bit, yeah.
let
No,
me
no, it's better now. It's better.
better.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Whenever
ahead
we mention that it breaks out, it behaves itself. So we just have to say it's
now.
breaking out.
Yeah.
uh, what I was saying is, you mentioned obviously a bunch of Web 2.5 games that took off and subsequently crashed, like Steppen and Axie. I think most of the market has come to the conclusion that play to earn is not a sustainable model. Um, but that's not to say on-chain games are naturally not going to be play to earn. I think that's just kind of like a business decision, right? That founders would make in terms of how they choose to incentivize people playing their game. How do you see balancing that sort of inherent native financialization that we have in Web3 and on-chain games? How do on-chain game founders avoid the mistakes of the Web.25 founders, for example?
How do they make money? You mean? Yeah, that's a great one. How do we make money by having on-chain games, basically, right? Correct?
Yeah, I just
So,
wanted to get your take on that, you
okay.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point actually. Yeah, many ways. The ultimate thing would be to, I mean, the same way as DeFi. I mean, the way DeFi operates is like you use a layer, then you get a fee out of the layer you use. You can imagine a system where, I mean, I'm talking about the ultimate like end goal somehow. If you have like an entire ecosystem where you have a lot of bricks and people can just use any bricks that exist, etc., etc., where would be you would just change the model, like the current model of a game. I'm not talking about Web 2.5 games. I'm talking about like regular Web 2 games, because I feel Web 2.5 games are similar to Web 2 games
Mm.
and the way they do. I mean, they are built by a studio, so like studio with like a X number of developers. Basically, you make money like a Web 2 game, like let's say like a Web 2 game. Let's say GTA, Rockstars. They make money by the number of copies they sell of the game.
Mm.
Also from like like other ways, but mainly it's just like an IP model. You just sell X number of copies and you make money that way. Web 2 Web 2.5 are, I mean, obviously a bit different because there's some kind of like a Ponzi. No, I don't want to. I don't want to judge. So it's kind of a mechanism where more money enters and then you have the rewards. But as we have seen, it doesn't. it's not sustainable and it's not on the long run. Yeah, but basically a Web2 game, it's just yeah IP model. The way you would work with a Web3 game, like a fully Web3 game, is you could imagine the owner of the first of the layer that would be used as a brick will get a fee out of the use from the person that uses it. So basically, if you build like an amazing brick, people will use it because it's great. Then you will make money by people using it. But if somebody just improve it and just like with a better version, fork and improve it, add a feature, or whatever, and people start to use their brick, you will you won't make the money anymore because people won't use your brick anymore, and you will be able to somehow like compile like a different layers of bricks along the way to build the game. And as soon as somebody uses your brick in the game, then you make money. Um, so that's the ultimate model, I would say. I see for like Web3 games. Uh, Similarly to DeFi somehow. Um, but in the meantime, because we're far from there. Honestly, I mean, we are obviously far from there. Um, yeah, I mean, there's no correct answer, I would say. Some projects will finance themselves with like NFT drops. Some will just make like some like integrate some kind of like some stuff into their on-chain games. That's yeah. Today it's complicated, I would say, because the ecosystem is not mature enough. I mean, we are not even 1 year old. Mm, like we're barely 1 year. The entire on-chain gaming ecosystem is barely 1 year old, so it's super tough to say. But yeah, the ultimate way to make money would be the model I just described before. I'm also curious to hear your opinion on this. How do you see finally making money through on-chain games? And but because yeah, that's obviously the key topic when it comes to building projects.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why we enjoy having these kinds of conversations because we are so early, and every time I speak to somebody who's obviously been in the space, very intelligent, very smart, everyone has a different take, and everyone has a different sort of flavor to it, right? Because there is no consensus, because otherwise everybody would be doing that. Right now, everybody's still figuring out what even an on-chain game in front of a consumer that is actually meant to look like, right? Because right now we have huge limitations in terms of what a Web2 gamer expects in terms of a quality game they might play, right? Right now, I think all of us have been nerd sniped, so we're happy to put up with a lot of the sort of constraints in on-chain games, but to be honest, if we want to put something in front of the mass market, it's got to be highly polished and have all the things that Web2 gamers expect. In terms of financialization, where we're thinking is, firstly, you obviously need the good product. Now, I know a lot of people who are looking to invest in the space or do that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to invest in a platform of some kind, right? Which is like, how do I get in on the base layer that other people can build on top of? But we think that's a pretty big challenge, right? Because if everyone's trying to build a platform, but no one's going to any of these platforms, then it's not a successful platform. And if we look at analogies in Web 2, right? Unreal Engine started as a game first. That was very successful. Unreal Tournament before they moved into an engine. Roblox had a working game first before they were a platform. Minecraft is that vertical sort of game layer that people can extend, right? It's very hard to just say, here's a platform, build on top of us without actually having any players there in the first place, right? And Fortnite, most recently with their creation engine or creative thing. Fortnite was a successful game. They've got the player base, therefore they can build. They can say, hey, you can build on top of us because we have distribution, we have players, we have eyeballs, we have monetization to share with you. So I think for us, the first thing is to try and build some kind of game. Obviously, we're going to try and make it as fun as possible, have some fun game loops, and use that to start attracting people. And then only then do we have a chance, like Dark Forest, because that was a fun enough loop, people started to extend and modify Dark Forest. So that's our approach. It's sort of build the game first, get players, maybe charge them something in terms of like buying an NFT pass to come into the game. So that's kind of like charging for IP in the Web2 space, right?
Mm.
But at least they own the NFT as an asset and they can pawn that off or trade that or do something. And then maybe to move further down into the infrastructure, in terms of if you have a dedicated L2 app chain that the game sits on, that you control the gas for, that you can give gas to people or have them earn gas, pay for gas. It's kind of like an analogy that I liked. Who was it that told me about it? I can't remember, but it's like going back to the days of going back to the arcade, right? You put in $1, you get to play for five
Mm.
minutes or until you die. You want to keep playing, you
Yeah.
keep putting in $1, right? So that's kind of, I think, how on-chain games will be. Obviously, we'll abstract that away from the user. The user shouldn't be thinking, "Oh, I'm going to run out of gas soon." They can pay, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever it is, for example, and they will do that for a good game that they enjoy playing, just like they pay for that for a Netflix subscription. So I think that's kind of where our
And
headspace
the
is at.
community would decide of all the rules. I mean, and the game will belong to the community somehow. If you put it that model also. Also, a good way to another way to make money out of a game. For instance, that's something that we're doing. We are going to launch for the next tournaments. So I told you about like the OX Monaco, the OX Titans Web3 Companies World Cup we are organizing. We're organizing the next one, and we are now also going to create some kind of a betting layer where you'll be able to bet on the developers you feel are going to win, etc. So you can make money out of it. You can that way also reward the players by doing so. I mean, there's multiple ways to do. It's obviously time will speak will speak for us. But yes, you can implement derivatives way to make money from the on top of Web3 games,
I think,
Web3 game. But yeah, right?
yeah, I think betting is a very interesting aspect, right? Because the whole immutability of the rule set means that you can prove what happened in a game, and match fixing becomes much more difficult, right? In terms of at least the code itself. So I think betting certainly is very interesting. How uh, do you see betting as kind of like an extension of because there are online esports betting platforms for Web2 tournaments now and platforms like that. Do you see it as like an extension of that, or will it kind of be its own thing for on-chain games specifically?
Uh, I don't have much opinion on that question. I would say at least I can tell you the way we do. Um, I think I mean, it's not super sophisticated, honestly. You just build a like a betting layer, like platform layer that you build, like that you implement it on top of the game itself, and then yeah, that's it. So from that, I would say it's a bit it's structurally different. It would be a bit different from Web3 betting platform for Web2 games. Uh, Actually, not too much because like the only difference would be uh, the data are already on chain. Like you don't need to somehow like use an oracle, like not an oracle, like somehow like you don't need to have an API to get the I mean to just to implement the betting layer on the game. It could be, yeah. So I would say, I mean, again, I don't have much opinion on this. I just describe the way we do it. We just implement another layer, like a layer, and then we implement it on top of the game itself. So yeah, that's the way we do.
Yeah, no, that makes
Quite
that
basic, I would say.
that makes sense. How how big do you think um, data becomes important?
It breaks up.
So, it's breaking up. Let's fix it. Did that work?
It breaking up. Yeah, let's
Is
not.
is is it
Yeah,
working?
better now.
There we
Yeah,
go.
but I
Okay.
think it's fine now.
Okay.
Good.
Um, data, right? In terms of what can be seen on chain in terms of player performance and history and those kinds of things. Do you think that's a big opportunity at all?
What's the question? What do we keep on chain?
No, in terms of because everything is on chain and we're able to
Yeah.
see all the past transactions and then we're able to see past player data. We're able to see, the strategies and things that past players have done, for example. Uh, do you think that's an important thing? Do you think there's any sort of people working in that space to kind of flesh that out a bit more?
I'm not sure to understand the question. Like, what is it good to have everything on chain? I'm not sure to understand. Yeah.
No, as in, for example, taking betting as an example, if you want to sort of
Okay.
think about who you should back as a player, right? Um,
Mm.
then you can see potentially, let's say if that player's played a lot of other on-chain games, you can kind of see how they perform and what strategies they've employed and kind of make some determination. Almost like if you were doing a follow strategy of an investor in DeFi, right? You could kind of see their
Yeah.
playbook and sort of make that determination. Do you think that's interesting and do you think people are sort of thinking about that?
Yeah, that's super interesting because it will force everybody to always improve, to always work. To you won't be able to like hide any data. Okay, let's take an analogy with tennis or any other sports. The best coaches like they find ways to collect data to use software to I don't know like whatever AI or whatever to understand like the behavior of a specific player. You would be able to do it without having to use those software, which is to me, I mean, it goes to the same direction. I mean, it's great because it forces everybody to always adapt, always. I mean, to always adapt, always improve your stuff. It gives much better feedback to the other players. Yeah, yeah, I see it as a great way to as a great thing. Yeah, for sure. In every aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so as well. And I think um, UI and presenting that information, I think, will be a pretty big opportunity, right? For because not everyone knows how to go onto the explorers and actually see what the hell is going on. But if you can put
Yeah.
up some kind of
I,
dashboard,
yeah, actually, that's the biggest issue. I mean, I think the data is fine, like being able to organize it and make it relevant. That's the big challenge.
absolutely.
That's the biggest challenge. So yeah,
Um,
so and then you will have a lot of projects working around those topics to improve the UI, the UX, and all those. I mean, you'll have a lot of derivative projects out of the main thing, which is on-chain games. So, as you said, people project that will organize data. I mean, the data, or I mean, I don't have any other example, but anything that's is a derivative of the on-chain component of the game.
definitely.
History, I mean, whatever. You got it.
Now, you know the meme where it's like a dog and it says, on the internet, no one knows if you're a dog. Um, on chain, no one knows if you're a bot, right? So when it comes to like
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last word.
on chain, no one knows
Yeah.
you're a bot.
Oh, you're a bot. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think games should deal with uh, botting or cheating or any kind of that kind of stuff? Is that something that on-chain game builders need to start thinking about, or is that just something you have to incorporate in your game design? Because obviously there's no way to stop it really.
That's a great point, actually. It's tough to say. I know a few project works on this. GG Quest. I don't know if you have heard of it.
No,
They're
no.
doing a great job. The guy, the former, I think Counter Strike professional player. So he was involved in like a high level competitions, and like he develops this kind of soft like protocol to like software to fight against cheating. But yeah, cheating is a key thing. I mean, let's say let's keep the example of poker. Like poker has always been the example when it comes to ZK, zero knowledge application.
Mm,
Was like a poker, because okay, now you can play poker on chain. I mean, now you can theoretically play poker on chain because you can hide the information, etc., etc. But like in poker, the main reason, the main thing is not it, the main issue is cheating, is collusion. In poker, if you are able to collude with a friend, you're beating the game basically. If you can play with a friend and you know his cards and you know your cards, you beat the game. And it's possible for, I mean, so like the big poker websites, they have anti-collusions software or whatever. Um, the challenge will be even bigger in crypto, in Web3 gaming, in on-chain gaming, because I mean, but this is still the big challenge. And obviously, we need to find ways to fight against it. I don't have the solutions. I haven't really thought much about that question. But obviously, it's gonna be like any other game. It's gonna be one of the key challenging afterwards. And again, seeing a few protocols such as TGQuest that I just mentioned, working on this also demonstrate the markets behind on-chain games today. But again, to be honest, today I don't feel cheating is the main priority at the moment. We are far from like needing like very strong anti cheating mechanism or solutions, because we are, I mean, the on-chain gaming ecosystem is very nothing at the moment. It's just some legends playing some arcade games or some like very simple games, or so. I don't feel it's a main priority, but we can already see project working on this.
yeah, I think
But yeah,
absolutely.
it's going to be big in the future for sure,
Mm,
like any other games.
mm. Yeah, we need a game that's popular enough that's worth the cheaters' time first, right? Before we can deal with the cheaters. So I think everyone's priority is to build that fun game first. But yeah, I think it's definitely
Mm.
something we need to look out for. I mean, with the advent of AI and bots, soon you literally won't be able to tell who's playing your game as a human actor or an AI controlling a bot, right? So I think that could present some very interesting
Yeah,
opportunities
that's
as
tough.
well.
I mean, honestly, that's tough. That's a great point. I don't know what to say about this. I don't have any opinion. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure, it's going to be an issue. But I don't have any. Yeah, I don't know what to say on that
Mm.
regard.
I think yeah,
To be honest.
I think we all gotta figure that one out somehow. Yeah, because there was a bit of a heated debate on Dead Drop. It's actually a web, I would say 2.5 game, but it's just a Web 2 sort of shooter with some NFTs integrated to it. And the founder mentioned, imagine having to extract a package in the game that's actually worth $100,000. And then everyone was like, okay, well, how do you prevent cheaters or bots from actually doing that, right? Because if there's money on the line, absolutely they will try and get that. You think
For
about
sure, for sure.
DeFi protocols, which one hasn't been hacked right now, especially if it's like a lending market with value. So that's
No,
uh,
you're absolutely right. It's a key thing. But yeah, let's see. I don't have any any answer to this. But yeah, it's for sure a big issue. Anytime there's financial incentives, you will get you will have arbitrage. You will have like arbitrageurs. You will have bots to optimize. Yeah. Yeah. Again, let's see what people do, and yeah, let's see the future. But unfortunately, I don't have much opinion on this, on how to prevent it at least.
no, no, no. I think if you did, you would certainly go out and build that tool right now. I think that's going to be used by everyone, right?
Yeah,
So,
for
uh,
sure.
I wanted to get your take on this as well, Luthing. I think I've been reading there's kind of two main camps from investors, I think in particular. Maybe not investors, but also some game builders, right? One camp says to get mainstream adoption for, let's call them just Web3 games in general, right? It needs to look like a Web2 game. It needs to have all the crypto abstracted away from the end user. that's how we'll get mainstream adoption. And then there's like this growing voice, which I think is the camp that most of us are in, building on-chain games, right? That we say, actually, it's got to be on-chain games where the game modes really haven't even been discovered yet because we haven't lent fully into the affordances of on-chain gaming. I think yes, we have limitations, but the games we can come up with are potentially much more novel and interesting. Obviously, I know you're part of this camp, but do you put any merit into what, let's say, the people who think, we should, for example, copy GTA, copy Minecraft, and just put them on chain or make them Web3, and that's the way to do it? What's your take?
I would say the first question is why do we want to.
Yeah, I think your mic just cut out. Oh, you're on mute. I think maybe you clicked mute by accident.
My bad.
There we go.
No, I just put up my headphones. Okay, so no, the first question is why do we want to bring games on chain? The reason why we want to do it is you want to uh, allows like create a playground where anybody can pick like any brick that exists into and do stuff like Legos with them, and also be allowing anybody to improve what exists to just have all the time over the time better and better bricks that everybody will benefit somehow, like letting everybody to benefit from compound effects from all the developers working towards the same bricks. So that's the main thing. That's to me the main reason why you want to bring games fully on chain. Also because you want to have games last forever, but that's more to me more ideological point of view. To me, the practical reason why you want to bring games fully on chain is uh, what I've just described before, being super like being able to build games super fast and having access to very high quality bricks all the time and always be improved all the time. That are always improved all the time. So I mean, I understand what to say, but yeah, I agree. There is some merits out of it, but you just want to make it. You just want to do it for the good reasons to enable. So I would say Minecraft, for that regards, is a good reason because you want to anybody to be able to uh, just like pick anything that is whatever on Minecraft. So yeah, I would say on that's not ID, but that vision is super is very respectful. I understand, and I agree. That's also the way to bring mass adoption, and to me, that's the way you will bring the next like X million users, uh, like game users to Web3 is to just gamify what they already know. But at the end, having a reason why you want to do it on chain, not just to have the equivalent on chain, because it brings something, and to make sure it's super relevant to bring those famous games on chain. I think it's the case for Minecraft. It is already the case. Maybe you can give me other examples, and I can tell you my opinion. But yeah, it just needs to be done for a relevant reason, not just for marketing or call it the way you want.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think right now, most of what we see in 2.5 is kind of like, let's take this existing game concept and slap some NFTs on there and then try and access
Yeah.
it. And it's not that interesting, right? And it's ultimately, I think, a dead end in terms of where it could go because it's never going to be as good as the Web 2 version, and it's not
Yeah, and
fully on
and
chain.
what does the NFT bring? And what does the NFT bring to the game itself?
Mm, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Gamers don't really care about actual ownership, especially if the game isn't, something they're going to come back to all the time anyway. So, uh, obviously, we have inbuilt asset ownership, but that's definitely not the most interesting, I think, value prop of having on-chain games. Um, cognizant of time, so I'll just ask you one last question, and it's related to the previous topic. But when do you see us as an industry, let's say the on-chain gaming industry, start to transition to be able to target more and more less crypto native people? Because I think right now we're obviously all playing in a very small pond of people who, probably played Dark Forest back in the day and now, sort of interested in this kind of space. Where do we start to target even the Web 2.5 people? And then when do we start to target the Web 2 people as an industry?
That's a 1 billion question.
That's why I'm asking. I want to take notes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's obviously super tough to say. I obviously don't have the answer. My gut feeling would say it will be mass adopted. Basically, it will be an extension of the past answer. Mass adoption will come whenever the game will simple enough for anybody to play it without having to without figuring out that it's crypto, obviously. So, and also but not only for this, but also when the benefits of fully on-chain games will be a thing. It's not gonna work out. Like, there's no reason why it's gonna work out if you artificially bring something that exists and gamify it and make a super easy experience. If the on-chain features characteristic of the game doesn't bring anything new, so I would say the combination of those two elements. Whenever games are going to be super simple to play, the experience, the UX will be super easy. Not finding out that you need to masterize crypto. I mean, obviously, a kind of abstraction is goes on that direction because it's just a UX feature. But yeah, when the entire UX is going to be super simple for anybody to play without knowing anything about crypto, and also when the on-chain characteristic will bring actual benefits to the game. So I would say those 2 points, and when that's I don't know, maybe 5 years from now, maybe if I'm optimistic, maybe 7 years. I don't know. Yeah, not less than this, I would say.
That's the $1 million question, and I think 5 years is certainly reasonable, I would say, just based on
Yeah.
all of the challenges that we still have to address. But I like your take. I like how you're saying it's not just, that we have to build a fun on-chain game. It's got to also have that good UX, right? That the Web 2 people can actually handle, where we can abstract away all the crypto aspect of it. But then also it needs to have elements where it are inherently unique to on-chain games, right? And yeah, I would agree. I think I would agree with that. So.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Let's set a call in 5 years, and let's.
That sounds good. I'll put
let's
it. I'll
yeah.
put it in my calendar. But I think it's a logical take, right? Because all things being equal, there is no reason for a Web2 gamer to switch to a game that is similar on chain unless it's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like if I'm playing Cyberpunk right now, like it's good. It's a great experience, right? It's not going to be any better if it's the same thing on chain. In fact, it's just going to be 10 times worse.
Actually, let's take an example. Like, let's say World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the exact same game, with the only difference than the weapons that you get, or like whatever items you get from the game, is fully on chain. Then you can trade. The supply of each item. You don't have like one entity that controls and then can deploy as many items as they want, depending on the policy, or even take Sorare. That Sorare, they mint a lot of cards, and they decide themselves like how many cards are going to mint, so it decreases the price of the entire supply. So if you can bring Sorare fully on chain, it's going to be much different, and people will and you will get a direct benefit from it to be like being fully on chain.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's 2 examples.
But I think people, and I think mainly the mainstream public, need to separate that just because a game has NFTs, it doesn't mean that they can't change the game to the detriment of the players, right? Because it's still a centralized server architecture. They can, and the players have no say about it. So, but whereas if you,
Only I mean, the only difference between, like, let's say World of Warcraft or any game, with NFTs, it's just the liquidity of the market. That's it. Although it's the exact same game, it gives you a better, liquidity. Otherwise, it's the same.
yeah, and arguably, you know, there've been marketplaces in World of Warcraft for years already with ample liquidity for the people who do want to trade, right? It'll make it a bit better, but it's ultimately not that interesting for the majority of players who don't trade anyway, right? They just play it for the fun game. So, but I think that's the $1 million question that everyone is trying to figure out. It's like, okay, we're interested in building on-chain games. Now, what are the unique game mechanics we can come up with that are so different and so interesting that people have no choice but to play our games over something else? And I think that's ultimately the thing that we're all striving for. But yeah, on that note, it's been an hour already, and I appreciate. I don't want to take too much of your afternoon, but it's been a pleasure to speak with you, Louthing. Congrats on all the stuff that you guys are doing with MatchboxDAO. We'll certainly try to get more involved in the ecosystem as well. I'd love to invite you along to our upcoming playtests. So yeah, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's an honor, and yeah, happy to. It was a great discussion. And by the way, yeah, we are just very quick thing. I mentioned the competition in January. We're launching a new one in May. So yeah, if you guys or any teams would be willing to participate, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Absolutely, we'll definitely do that. Thanks again, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.